listening to the Neil Lamptey Show. My name's Joey, and I'm joined by Paul.
All right, mate.
And by Neil.
Hello.
And by Laurie.
All right, mate.
Moments of the week. Who's going to start? Neil, I'm going to throw to you.
Moment of the week. It's not really football related, as always. We sold something for charity. I thought that was quite sweet.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we got a signed shirt from the club. Apologies to Corey I Die for not getting a signed one of him, but we got the entire squad to sign it, and we gave it away. Well, we didn't give it away. We put out a charity auction and made £171 for the family zone. So, no, I was very pleased that I went for far higher than I expected. So, no.
Can we name? Are we allowed to name check the person who won it? Is that a thing?
I haven't asked.
Okay.
So probably not. No.
Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah. Thanks to everyone that bid on that, and thanks to the Family Zone for everything that they do. Paul, you've used the Family Zone properly as a family man, haven't you?
Yeah, the Family Zone is really good, and obviously that's one of the reasons we've done what we've done to try and help them out, and they do an amazing job. So that was going to be my moment of the week as well. So Neil's ruined that for everyone.
The ego's on us.
I mean, well,
money for charity.
You can never have too many self-congratulatory backslaps,
No,
as far as I'm concerned.
Well, basically, the last time we podded, we've had 2 games, neither of which have had particularly memorable moments in. So, yay us.
Yeah. Laurie, why don't you take it from there?
Also, moment of the week, does that extend into the actual fixtures that happened?
We've proved that you can basically say anything that happened or that you can speculate on over the course of all time. So fire away.
Okay. I'm still going to stick within the week just to be contrary in a really boring way. So maybe Scunthorpe. I think I actually need to check. I think Scunthorpe lost on Sunday, which means
they did.
We still get to play them at the normal time on a Saturday instead of it getting moved to a Tuesday.
Boo.
So everyone should be delighted that we can now easily attend Scunthorpe away in a few weeks' time.
No.
Go on, Paul.
If it had been a Tuesday, I probably could have gone. I can't go on a Saturday. I was all about the Shrewsbury. Come on, I was all about the Scunthorpe. Come on, Scunthorpe, get through to the third round of the FA Cup. But no.
Paul, you presumably had Shrewsbury on the mind for a specific reason there, didn't you?
Oh, they've got Sam Ricketts, haven't they?
Sam Ricketts in charge, yeah.
6 months into his managerial career, Sam Ricketts has gone from Wrexham to Shrewsbury.
Is it even 6 months?
Oh, it's the start of the season. Okay, yes, probably not even. I mean,
it's a bit rash, isn't it?
Football's one of those things where when you're hot, aren't you?
Yeah, wow.
But they're going the other way.
In your first job. That's the rule.
Yeah, I mean that's basically. If you look at Mark Robinson's win ratio, it's pretty good for Blackburn. For his last 4 clubs, it's awful. But that one, doing well at Blackburn's kept Mark Hughes in work.
Do you mean Mowbray?
No, Mark Hughes.
No.
Mark Hughes started at Blackburn.
Mark Robbins.
Yeah.
Oh, you said Mark Robbins.
Oh, did I? I meant Mark Hughes. Sorry.
Hughes, I think he's getting a bit of. I think he's perennially given harsh treatment. I think he's done some awful jobs over the years, but that he did a really good job at Fulham before he's decided that he was too big for them, and he did keep Southampton up last season despite them being totally dead and buried. I think he is one of them classic British managers who, to quote Atletico Mints, goes for the destroy and exit as quick as he can. But I'm not sure he's as bad as some of the others. I just think I just wouldn't touch him because he's a prick. I think that's a much bigger problem. I'm going to go for Neil. I'm shocked that you didn't go for this as moment of the week. James Maddison's goal.
It wasn't all him. I've got this thing about it not being totally a little bit of a bubble off someone else. Suddenly, that puts me off it.
I think that makes it more impressive.
I thought it's absolutely gorgeous. The first touch is just sublime, and then the little nick.
The pass is outrageous as well, isn't it? To be fair,
it's all really good, but I'm such a snob when it comes to this sort of stuff. It has to be pure, otherwise, nope.
I think it is. Go on.
First touches,
he's really miles better. He can do even better than that, and he played shit.
I just think that as soon as all them players get involved and someone touches it, it takes even better control to judge where someone else has got a leg on it. And you're right, it's not.
Come with your rational thinking at me.
It's not. It's less Dennis Bergkamp-esque, but just as a kind of overall technique and vision and everything. I'm just delighted that he's gone to the Premier League and that he's just been like completely as good as you'd hope he'd be.
They're all loving him as well. They're really seeing it. And what gets me is that I have these memories of Maddison playing at the lower level and seeing him play for Norwich last year, where he was absolutely just faultless almost every single game. This year he's not faultless, and he makes lots of mistakes, and yet because he's so different to what everybody else is sort of used to at the moment, he's just still standing out. And you sort of think, well, what if he gets to a level of consistency where he's actually playing to his sort of maximum almost? You sort of think, how good can he be?
Yeah. Well, you weren't impressed with his dive then?
No, he got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He deserved to get sent off. It was horrendous.
It was bad, weren't it? Yeah.
Just shoot.
Yeah.
The ball, just have a shot. I don't understand. I'll never get that about. I understand going down in certain circumstances. If you're 6 yards out, why are you even contemplating doing anything other than having a shot?
It's on the mind, isn't it?
Yeah, but he is like the template millennial footballer, isn't he? He's loads of. If you look at his Twitter feed, there's loads of like advertising, and his hair's all fucking gelled and whatever. He's a right fancy Dan. I'm not at all surprised that he's like, yeah. If I get the chance to lob myself on the floor, it's basically an assist.
He's the least stylish man ever, either, as well. Which, considering all that money, that's what he makes it. It's like the Elton John, isn't it? Syndrome, where he's got so much money and he buys the shittest clothes.
I think it's like if David Beckham was from Cov.
You reckon?
Where was it? Where like he's in his head, he's Beckham, but he can't escape the fact that he was born in Cov, and it just oozes out of him.
But there was that moment when he bought those like, horrendous white trainers, and I think someone from the academy said like, "Wow, Madders, like what are these?" And he's like, "You'll never understand fashion," and you're like, "What? Really? Oh
no,
my God,
not fashion,
awful.
mate."
Yeah. What did he say?
No, that's definitely not fashion.
Yeah, that's abysmal.
It's nothing. Oh well, James, lovely man.
Yeah, love you, James. On to things actually, Cov. I'm sure that we'll get more messages about being sycophants for Maddison, but we are, so deal with it. Peterborough was the first game of the two that we're going to talk about. Laurie, you were there?
I was there, yeah.
What do you remember of it?
What do I remember? I remember making loads of notes about it and then being so confused by the game at the end that I couldn't actually bring myself to write a match report about it. But what do I remember? I remember Peterborough being pretty well organised and quite content to play on the break against us. We were kind of on top for spells during the first half. Like we put together quite a lot of neat moves, but we ended up with lots of chances that were kind of 5, 6 out of 10 chances. We didn't really miss any sitters. And we were kind of doing a few things that looked quite positive. So it's like, I don't know, relatively content. But it did turn into one of those games where Peterborough obviously had a little bit of a sting in their tail. They had this lad, Tony, up front. Not only Tony, but second name Tony. And someone behind me, after Tony had he did miss a couple of absolute sitters, but someone behind me said, he's a Premiership striker, that's why he's playing in League One, because he's absolutely star. I was like, is he star? I think he's pretty good. He just keeps on missing his chances. Yeah. we were pretty scared of him, and he was standing us up quite a lot. And then he turned out.
He had a bit of the McSheffreys, didn't he?
Yeah.
In the second half, he tried 3 of the most. If you'd have pulled that off, that'd have been one of the greatest goals I've ever seen live. But what you've actually done is hit it with your shin.
Yeah.
Like he tried a half volley that was. I said, if you'd have pulled it off, you'd have been stood there going, that is unbelievable, because of the angle he was at, the way the ball was coming to him, and he clearly didn't have the ability to pull it off. But he did, that didn't deter him. The next time he had a chance to do something which would have been amazing, and then he missed that brilliant header when he was like in the middle of the goal, and you were like,
"Oh my god!
Yeah, get that right first before you start trying to be the world's greatest footballer. Do the basics."
Yeah, that header was one of those ones, sort of like the Sunderland game but even worse. That Sunderland volley where he's like, "How has Burge saved that?" But on this occasion, Tony just sat it completely wide, so it was even worse. But yeah, like I said, we were pretty tidy. I think Geordie had a really good chance that I've written down here. Really nice moves between Chaplin, Bayliss. Bayliss took a while to get into the game, made a few errors early on, but then he was just doing beautiful things, tricking his way out of corners, as in trapped in corners, not tricking his way out of winning us corners, and just doing his usual stuff. But we didn't really look like we deserved to be winning the game at any point. Peterborough seemed like relatively in control of what we were throwing at them. And then the more that this went on for, obviously we've all been to 1,000 games like this at the Rico where we have the better of things for the majority and we keep not scoring, especially when we've got a kind of confidence-free Connor Chaplin up front, and Hawula smashing chances wide, left, right and centre all over the place. You're kind of wondering when we're going to make a mistake and we're going to pay for it. And that did happen eventually. But, oh God, this was the Jody game as well, wasn't it? I'm just looking here. That was absolutely horrible. So,
have we heard any more from that?
I was going to say, has that been confirmed yet?
He's been all sort of solemn on Instagram, but all quite cryptic about it. So I don't know whether it's bad news or not. But surely someone from the club would have mentioned it, or Journo would have asked.
Didn't Robbins basically say it wasn't that bad?
And that was immediately after, though, wasn't it? You don't know.
Yeah, he said that it wasn't definite that it was that bad. And I know that a little while ago, Jones had said, "I've been to see the specialist who's told me to sit on it," not literally, but I haven't heard anything since then. Maybe it takes a while to have a look at, but couldn't they do what they did in The Simpsons and give the guy, bribe the guy with 2 packets of cigarettes and get it a bit quicker?
But Robin said his comment after the game I almost found a bit patronising, because he was like, "Well, Jody's heard a big crunch in his left knee and it's obviously scared him a bit." And I was like, that would scare me a little bit, to be honest.
That was my reaction, though. I saw it and I thought, because they wouldn't make him even attempt to play on, would they, if they thought there was something serious? But they were like, they're standing him up, get him to walk and everything, and they sent Mac out there. You sort of think, what could this be? I mean, if he's done his leg in, there's no way they're getting him after like 12 months out running again on it. So suddenly I thought, maybe it's just been a bit spooked, which I think is understandable.
Anyone else think there was big Ronaldo 2016 vibes going on with the way that he handled it?
Bang on the floor.
No, as in that he was just like, there is no way I'm not going to carry on playing this game. And it was just like, Jody, I think your leg might be fucked, mate. He was just like, no, I'm definitely not actually right there.
The other bizarre thing that Robin said, because it was at the same time that Luke Thomas was down, and he was like, well, you should just kick the ball out of play. Yeah. And you're like, that's just, that's a bit like when my daughter does something stupid and falls over, and you're like, well, you shouldn't have been doing it, should you? And it's so, what she wants at that moment in time is a little bit of sympathy, not a sort of moral lecture about how the fact she shouldn't have been swinging on a tree or something. But at the time, I know Neil disagrees with this slightly, but I do worry that when you bring players back who've been out that long, you get them to sort of do a little run up the line, and then you stand them there for 5 minutes, and then you bring them onto the pitch, and then they're meant to sprint straight away. And I wonder how many players do come back from those sort of injuries and break down in those sort of games where it's, you just think, well, maybe it would have been better for Jody Jones if he only played, like, we just gave him like 10 under 23 games and actually got him up to the fact where he's fully confident in his leg. Because that was the other thing that sort of the Mark Robbins comment was like, oh, he's not fully confident in it. And it's like, well, if he's not, why have him on the bench? And if he's not fully confident in his leg, why not play him in the 23s or even you can send him out on loan to non-league clubs for just sort of 2 months, just so he gets that confidence.
I wouldn't want him playing on non-league pitches, but yeah, I know what you mean.
There was a weird feature of last season, wasn't there, where it felt like at times that Robbins was deliberately punishing Jordan Ponticelli by telling him to get his tracksuit off and stand on the side of a pitch for 10 minutes when there's like snow on the side of the pitch. He's just like, not now, we'll wait. He's just like, shall I go for a run? He's like, no, I could need you at any minute.
He does that quite a lot though. He did it to Bakayoko against I think it was against Peterborough.
You just stand there for a bit.
Yeah, you fucking chill out there for a bit.
I'll tell you when you're going on.
Think about what you've done.
The Peterborough recollections, carry on.
Yeah. My 2 pence on the Jody thing is that I think he came back onto the pitch because he didn't want to admit to himself that it was pretty bad. And I think anyone who's had an injury like that probably doesn't want to admit immediately, I'm back to square one there. And so they're like, oh, it doesn't feel quite as horrendous as it did last time. So if I kind of play on a little bit, maybe I'll kid myself. But anyway, I'm sure we'll find out in the fullness of time. So game went on. We made a few changes. What happened? We brought Bakayoko onto the left wing after Jones had to go off. And the noises around me, and in fairness coming from me as well, were Bakayoko on the left wing, like, what is going on? Robbins, you've completely run out of ideas here. He didn't have many other options, but I mean that just seemed like no option whatsoever. But it obviously turned out relatively okay. Their goal was a bit of a Steven Gerrard moment. Doyle kind of in his own halfway inside, gets caught on the ball, as is becoming a bit of a theme of this season, and it's just so wide open from there. And Tony, not dispirited by his previous failures, manages to get on the end of the pass and then slots it away nicely, and thousands of people then left the ground.
You know who didn't give up? Liebert. I prefer the reaction to goals to actually the goal itself. That is just what I want. It's like last minute, everybody could just be on the floor, but he's like, no, fuck it, we're still gonna get something. Probably didn't believe it, but you want that sort of reaction, that sort of stark, obviously sort of positive reaction to something that's bad. I thought that was brilliant.
Really brilliant, and also I think that's. I'm not saying we're like a special group of players or a special unit, but there are so many COF teams in the last 4 or 5 years where no one would have done that. Absolutely no one. They would have been like, oh, that's it now. That's definitely
we showed it twice in that match. So just to jump ahead to the goal that we scored, just so the reaction to conceding, which in itself is last minute goal, you sort of think, oh, that's it. We suddenly think, oh, we can still get something out of this. Then the reaction to scoring, they're not messing around with celebrations or anything. They're grabbing the ball, thinking they can go and win it again, which I've known years and years of just COV getting a last minute equaliser and being absolutely content with that. I don't know if that's a sign of just their defiance or whether it's kind of a change in belief or something.
I think it's just kind of. I think it's worse than that. I think between 2006 and 2016, I've been following Dean Nelson on Twitter, who posts like, on this day, this is the game that we played and this was the result. And if it was any game during that 10-year period, it was a game that we lost 2-1, having been 1-0 ahead. Like, that's just all that happened over and over again for 10 years. And it's jarring this season to see how many games have been swayed by us being behind and us fighting it through and scoring last-minute goals. I want to sort of move it on ever so slightly and ask Paul about... we talked about Doyle giving the ball away for that goal. I just wondered if you'd got a few thoughts on Doyle over the course of the last few games.
Doyle, it's up to the opposition. And I say that in terms of Fleetwood decided in the first half that they were going to let Mickey Doyle do what Mickey Doyle does. And they put him under no pressure. And when he's under no pressure, he's fine. He still nearly caused us to concede, but he's fine. The issue is, and I don't know if anyone will ever be able to explain this, is why he takes up the positions he does, which is he goes to Junior Brown, stands on the left wing, plays 1-2 to Junior Brown to get his pass completion rate to about 85% from 100 passes. and then gives the ball away inexplicably. In the second half, when Fleetwood decided they weren't going to let him do that, he got more and more ropey. And going away from Doyle, I think that at the moment we have a couple of issues in the team. I think Doyle is part of one of those issues because he's just so heavily involved. He's so relied on to do everything, and he's never been the best attacking midfielder. His passing forward is he gets too over keen and plays the impossible pass. And he's not really a good passer and mover either, so he's not really the man you want taking it off the back for. So, do we bring in Liam Kelly to help him out? Is Bayliss not the best help? But, as I said, going off on a tangent, I also don't think it helps having Huila on the left wing, because he can play left wing, but that doesn't make him a left winger. And I think when Doyle's so heavily involved down that way, he doesn't really know where to go and stand to help out. He's not a midfielder, is he? He's not someone who's going to be involved in the play. So that whole dynamic on that left-hand side, along with Junior Brown, who's quite an erratic footballer at the moment anyway, I just feel that if teams want to, they can really hurt us there, because Doyle is a bit of a liability when he's in that position playing loose passes. Because I say that the Peterborough goal is just a horrendous bit of play. But he did the same in the first half where they caught him out of possession and he luckily got away with it. I don't think it's a long-term plan.
Well, I would say that I don't blame him massively for that mistake, because I don't think he has a record of sort of terrible errors like that, and I think sometimes it just happens, doesn't it? And I think
I disagree with that. I think over recent weeks he has got a form for doing that. Walsall did the same to him as well. Walsall destroyed him, and the game was Accrington at home where he scored quite late on. He was destroyed in that game as well. Like, they just couldn't ball off him. I think the last month, I think he has been.
Okay, but I think that what I was going to go on and say is I do think more generally there is a problem, and I think you highlighted it yourself. One, I think there is a problem in that area of the pitch. I think that the biggest contributory factor has been, I can't remember a player being as anonymous across the course of a full 90 minutes as Huila was against Peterborough. And then the one meaningful thing that he did, which was right towards the end of the game, was abysmal. And I can't remember, I think he tried to play in Johnson Clark Harris, and it was actually quite a chance that we could have done something with, and it just didn't come to pass. But that I was really quite shocked at how, and we've talked about this in the past, haven't we? You're much better off having a bad game, not touching the ball, in the eyes of the fans, than trying to get involved a lot and not doing something with it. Which I guess is the argument with Doyle, isn't it? Is that Doyle is so central to everything we've done recently, whereas we don't really want him to be, that he's kind of coming for a lot more criticism than he would do normally. Whereas I don't think, like you say, Brown I don't think has had the greatest start to his Cov career, and he's interacting with Doyle an awful lot, and Huila's dropped off the face of the planet. So I think, I don't know how much of it is just Doyle. I think he's got a difficult job there at the moment. And yeah, I guess that's about it, really. I don't think I was surprised to see that on Twitter you'd suggested that your answer, or one of your answers, would be to move Bayliss out to the right. I thought we had dispelled that as an option.
It depends how much you want to go into what is going on. I mean, the reason I suggest Bayliss onto the right is I think we have an issue on our left-hand side with both Brown and Huila. I think Doyle is becoming more of a liability in. I think teams are aware of where he stands, and when he goes to the left wing, and you can watch this on Saturday because he'll do it again, or the next time you watch him, he moves basically so far left that it gives Bayliss the entire of the rest of the team to cover, and it's just when we lose. And it's, as I said, it's you can go back over it. The Sunderland goal was bad pass at the wing from him again, out of position. He's out. It's not the fact that he gives the ball away. It's the fact where he gives the ball away means he has to then track halfway across the pitch just to be back in a proper centre midfield position. And Bayliss isn't covering him. It's not. That isn't Bayliss's game, is it? Bayliss wants to be going forward. He doesn't want to be looking at Doyle and going, if Doyle loses his ball, I've got to cover for him. Which is why there is an argument to bring back Liam Kelly to secure that centre midfield partnership. But you then have to keep Bayliss in the team. you have to keep Luke Thomas in the team, because I think we all agree, Bailey, basically without Bayliss and Luke Thomas, we'd be a horrendous football team to watch. They are the two players, aren't they, at the moment? Those are the two players who are on form who are actually making this interesting to watch. And then you have the front two dynamic where, I mean, the Peterborough goal, Chaplin owes Bakayoko a massive gratitude, because Chaplin had a terrible game against Peterborough. He missed the sitter in the last minute, and luckily Bakayoko kept the ball alive and crossed it for him to score from a yard out. And then against Fleetwood, we'll get on to, he was awful in that game. And JCH, I mean, I really have grown to like JCH this season, but his distribution and his movement of the ball aren't particularly good. And that's what I think we need to sort out, the Doyle, Hawula, JCH and Chaplin conundrum. Because if we got that sorted, we'd probably be in the playoffs at the moment. Because the rest of the side, the defence are playing well, the other two midfielders are playing well. It's those four who are the issue.
I feel like you have just Chaplined to Laurie's Bakayoko there, because Laurie's taken it all the way through the full game review, and then right at the last has crossed it in for you to nod the goal in.
Thanks, Laurie.
No worries.
Is there anything to be said for the reaction to that goal, having been so deflated by them scoring so late on? How was it in the stadium?
It was great. I was like delirious with happiness, especially because I was right by the away fans, so could give it the absolute big one, which is obviously the best thing to do when. But it was a really weird feeling, because it was like, then left the ground feeling pretty good, even though there was no way we should have come away with anything less than a win from that game. And it was kind of heartening, because Peterborough were above us in the league, and they seemed to come, and from minute one they'd be absolutely content with a point. So I think they're handing out quite a lot of respect to us, which not really here nor there. But I mean, I kind of would have thought Steve Evans would have come here wanting to beat us. So maybe people in this division do think we are a semi-decent side. And they definitely have good players, but they just weren't particularly ambitious. So I don't know. I think
we are quite a good side, aren't we?
I hope so.
Yeah, we top 8, top.
Yeah,
10,
I think we're in 8th. I'll double check.
We were top 6 after that game.
Ninth.
You know, we've won a bunch of games in a row.
We went up last season via the playoffs, and we're in 9th at the moment, and we won 5 in a row recently. We talked about this at the start of the season when it wasn't going amazingly well. We were saying we just need to find something that's settled, and then ultimately when either someone gets injured or when things drop off a little bit, you probably just need to make minor tweaks to it. And I think that's what we're saying, isn't it? Is that ultimately you wouldn't rip the back four apart at the moment, and you wouldn't change the keeper, and presumably
I agree with that, but also you've got to look at the kind of team we are, where we're an extremely fine margins team. Like, we went on a 7-match winning run, and now we've been on a 5-match not losing run, but no wins in 5. So that doesn't mean that we're suddenly a bad team. I agree with you, but it does indicate that not a lot has to go right for us to win games, but not a lot has to go wrong for us to start losing games as well, if that makes sense. Like, I think we're finely balanced, so we can be quite effective, but it doesn't take much. It doesn't take the machine to malfunction just a little bit, and then it seems like we've lost our way slightly. Like, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, I agree. I wasn't saying we're not a good team, but I don't know, it just seems like we're somewhat precarious quite a lot of the time.
I think that's fair enough. Shall we move on to Fleetwood, Paul?
Yeah, the only problem with Fleetwood, describing the Fleetwood game, is it can take away the narrative from the fact we're a good team. Because we bloody well weren't against Fleetwood. We're a team who, like, if you want to put the Fleetwood and Peterborough games into sort of one if you want to describe them together, you'd say that we're a team at the moment who can, if not dominate games, get on top in terms of possession. But we're also a team who do give away decent chances to the opposition. And against both Peterborough and Fleetwood in the first half, you would say we may have just edged the game, but neither game did we actually stop the opposition from having chances. The advantage we had in both games is they probably didn't take them. The flip side of that, against Peterborough, I don't, as Laurie said earlier, I don't think we actually had many decent chances. The only real chance that we didn't really discuss was Luke Thomas's sprint from the halfway line, which he probably should have done a lot better with. Other than that, that bit of sort of natural ability that Thomas has got, we didn't really break Peterborough down. They were quite comfortable with playing in front of them. Same with Fleetwood. We had two chances in the first half, both from Luke Thomas. The one where he put Hawula through, where Hawula really should have scored, and the one where he passed to Connor Chaplin, who really should have scored. And that was it, really. It was just the first half, we shaded it, probably, but we don't, we missed two gilt-edged chances. And at the other end, Fleetwood really should have scored twice, maybe three times. The save from Grimrich, I don't know if anyone's seen on the highlights, is an amazing save by Burge, because that was right in front of us and it looked all the way that he was past him. And Burge is clearly our best player, or one of our best players. Without Burge, we wouldn't be in the top 9. He saves us so many times.
Week in, week out.
Yeah, and it with all different types of save, and from the amazing to the, he's just caught that when we're under pressure and taken the pressure off us. So, and then the defence played well against Peterborough up until that night, the error from Doyle. Against Fleetwood, they just didn't. The defence just crumbled a little bit, which they hadn't really done this season. And as Laurie said, we are a fine margins team. We're a team who, when we take the lead, we tend to win. When we go behind, we can come back, but it's a bit touch and go. And just as I said earlier, that my issues are we have an issue with our strike partnership where they're not really working. I know people are going to say that Chaplin will come good. That's fine, but at the moment it's not a case of he's not taking chances. It's a case of he's not playing particularly well. He's giving the ball away a lot, and he's not really holding the ball up. If the ball goes to him, the opposition are taking the ball off him quite easily. So he's not playing particularly well. JCH is JCH. He has his good moments and bad moments, but he's a bit in and out of the game. And with Hawula on the left wing, it's just there's nothing really there at the moment with that attacking unit, which is why we're not really scoring goals. We're the lowest scorers in the top half of the division, because we're just not taking chances. And then the second half, Fleetwood did. They scored. The first goal was quite a good goal. The second one was just way too easy, and the third was even easier. And by the time you're 3-0 down, the game's over. And Fleetwood basically gave up after that point. We had our penalty. And I think this is the other thing with Chaplin. Whatever was happening last season with McNulty, whenever McNulty got a thing like a penalty, and I know he missed one for Leeds, for Reading the other day, but again, it's a nice shot into the corner. At no point did he ever thrash the ball like Chaplin did. And you watched Chaplin walk up to that to take that penalty, and you were like, that's not a man who's got any confidence at the moment. Can you remember us watching, was it Darius Vassell took one for England in about 2006? And you watch him slowly walk up, and you're like, you're going to miss, because you just don't want to do this. And it was just a case, and then he had the free kick in the first half, which again was just the same technique of, I'm just going to smash this as hard as I can. It's like, that's not, if you're Frank Lampard, you can do that. If you've got that technique where you can smash the ball as hard as you can, but you've still got that much power and control, or Shearer had. If you're just smashing it as hard as you can, but you've got no technique behind it, it's going to look awful, and it did. And, he got taken off, and Bakayoko got his occasional 3 or 4 minutes, and the game petered out.
Let me jump ahead to a question from Twitter. This is from Amrit. I'm going to put it to you, Neil. He just simply asks, how do you solve a problem like Chaplin?
It's kind of how you solve any crisis in confidence. There are loads of different ways of doing it. You might have to leave them out for a little bit and give them opportunities to come back at a point when the pressure's not quite as high. I I don't think anything like this is terminal. There are things that I like about him, and there are things that I don't like about him. Just sort of more fundamental things. And far be it for me to dislike of anybody for being too small. But there is something about his sort of. It lets him down quite a lot being that small. So he needs to find other ways to influence the game, because it does let him down occasionally. But no, I just think he's in a bad patch at the moment. But he was also a player who was contributing, maybe not through goals, but contributing through sort of nice link-up play with other players, and part of an attacking dynamic that looked quite threatening only a month or two or so ago. So it's still all there for him. I just think Robbins has to be a manager now, and he has to try and judge the character and see what he thinks might do well. And if that's leaving him out for a little bit and trying something different up front, then let's do it. I still like JCH and Chaplin. I think there's some potential with that, but you've got to play the cards as they're dealt.
I hate to do this, but that's actually the wrong answer. It says here, play him through it and he'll score 28 goals like McNulty did.
Yeah, you do that as well. Yeah, both could happen. Yeah, it's fine.
Apparently that's the correct answer.
Okay, but no, I'll go with either.
Again, the arbitrary answer is if you play Bakayoko 28 games. God, if you play Bakayoko to the end of the season, I don't know, he's going to play 28 games. I know you're being trite, Joe, but it is a case of I keep seeing that, and it's like, well, why have we decided that
he's the only reference point for strikers?
No, not just that, but why we decided that Chaplin's the man who we have to stick with through thick and thin?
Yeah.
Why wasn't that Bakayoko? Why isn't Hawula the man we should be sticking
with?
But maybe
people see more in Chaplin than they do the others. I mean, I don't suggest that just the price tag has anything to do with it, although he is obviously the main man. But I think in terms of overall contribution, in the time he's been with us, obviously he's had more minutes. I think he has shown good parts. He's going through a sticky patch, so it's one of those where people have the McNulty thing from last season, and I've always maintained that McNulty was still playing well even if he wasn't scoring. There's a difference between the way McNulty was playing and the way Chaplin's playing at the moment, where you've identified he's actually putting in some poor performances, but there is the flip side where he's also putting good performances, and people may think maybe that's the way it goes. You let him play through it. That is another option. None of us are here to predict the future, are we?
No. If I can just quickly, I'll very quickly chuck my 2 penneth in. I just think I would just stick a post in the 6-yard box. I would tie him to it, and that'd be that. I'm not sure it's any more complicated than trying to work out the dynamics between him and Johnson Clark-Harris a bit better, because I don't think I think he's doing a little bit of what Harry Kane's done this season, where he's seeing himself as a sort of, well, I'm going to drop deep, I'm going to link play, I'm going to do absolutely everything. And I'd be inclined to say to him, let's work on that later. Just score some goals for now. Just focus on staying around the box and poke a few in. And I'd tell Johnson Clark-Harris to do the dog work for him. And just simplify your game a little bit. Because like I touched on with Doyle earlier, part of the problem is that he seems to be involved in everything, which is commendable, but he's not doing it well at the minute. I just think he could do with calming down a little bit. I don't think I'd drag him out the side yet.
I think that's fair.
I wouldn't drag him out the side yet, because I think I've seen plenty of potential in there, and I think the type of player he is, I really like. But I know that I talk about this a lot, but it does really frustrate me when chances present themselves and there's nobody in the box, and I kind of think your whole shtick was meant to be that you were going to come and score the goals for us, so do that.
Throw my tuppence in a couple of things. One, I think if you look at his career, this is the longest run of games he's ever had starting. And if you have a look at his career as well, he only started 33 times for Portsmouth in the league in about 4 years. He's now started 13 times in the league for us. So we discussed this quite a bit over other players. Maybe it's just this is his natural dip because he's just knackered. The flip side is he was awful against Peterborough. His touch was bad. His passing was bad. If it had been 99% of other players I've ever seen play for Cov, the criticism would have been probably a lot harsher than it was. And he's getting away with some quite bad performances because of who he is, and also because of what McNulty did last season. And it's a case of you take things on its own merit. He probably doesn't deserve a place in the team at the moment. On the last 5 or 6 times I've seen him, he hasn't been very good at all. Now, in that time, you could say, yeah, but he scored the goal against Peterborough, and I still go back to the fact that he missed the opportunity against Peterborough. Bakayoko bailed him out.
Did he miss it?
Took,
He just went past him. He didn't get to it, did he? It's not like he missed it.
He didn't do anything. The ball was there in the 6-yard box. And
But he short legs again. That's the problem.
I don't know. You just do you do something at that, and the defender did brilliantly to cover him, but he left it too late. And luckily for him, Bakayoko bailed him out against Fleetwood. As I said, I stand with Pritchard, who's very much of the strikers' union, and it's like he was very much last season. It's like I like McNulty, I saw him do this, and I saw him do that, and he was like he will score goals because it's all about technique, and it's like fair enough. He was proven right. My issue with Chaplin at the moment is he's not missing chances because he's got good technique and he's sort of it's not going in. At the moment, he's just got bad technique. Nothing's working for him, and it's like yeah, we could play him through and he could score goals, but also he might not. We've seen players who haven't. And at the moment, if he's not deserving his place in the team, why not give Bakayoko or Hawula a chance up front? It's not going to do him any harm to be sat on the bench for a couple of weeks because it does, it shouldn't do anyone any harm if you're not playing well enough to be out the side. The other statement about him sort of dropping deep is I think because Robbins is going back to playing 4-4-1-1. I don't think he's going deep to get involved in the play. I think he's going deep because that's basically where Robbins is trying to play him at the moment. I think he's trying to get him more involved in the rest of the game. Because you can see, otherwise his starting point wouldn't be where it is. He's playing deeper because that's what's being asked of him. Now, whether or not that should be being asked of him is a completely different point. But that otherwise he wouldn't continually take the ball off Mickey Doyle in the defence because Robbins would have told him to not be there. You don't. If it happens 5-6 games on the bounce, that's not due to him doing it. It's due to the fact the manager's told him where to stand. Because otherwise, the manager would tell him not to fucking stand there.
But you and I argue about this quite a lot. I think because this is what you would do. I think that you think that all managers are very instruction heavy like that, and I don't think they are. I think that largely what happens is that players go out on the pitch and kind of run about a bit. I'm not sure that he's like bringing Chaplin in and making him watching videos. And who is it? One of the European managers saying you're like 2 yards left of where you need to be stood or whatever. I don't get the impression that Robbins does that at all, and that's not a slight on him. I just don't think he's that sort of manager.
See, the reason I disagree with that is because last season he was trying to play 4-4-1-1 with. But I think fucking McNulty. And
I think you're right about that. I just don't think he's giving Chaplin such detailed instructions about. Actually, I think you should be dropping 10 yards deeper to come and link the play or whatever. I think he's probably saying to him, Jonathan Clark-Harris is up front and you're off him a bit. And I think that would be my guess as to the full extent of how that conversation goes down. I might be wrong.
But as soon as you say you're not up front, then you're naturally going to drop. You're not going to be up front. He's not playing up front. The interesting when he brought Tony Andrew on. And Tony Andrew was playing that role. He obviously went deep because that's natural what Tony Andrew wants to do, isn't it? He wants to be involved, but they're both playing exactly the same place in Robbins' formation. He's basically making a fifth central midfielder when we don't have the ball. You wonder why is Chaplin that deep? As I said, if it was once, we were talking about this like, I've seen Chaplin, he drops you deep. It's the fact that every game he's doing that. Every game he's getting involved in parts of the pitch. You're thinking, I want you to be a finisher. I don't want you to be involved in that game. If you could do it, if you had the ability, fine. Do what the fuck you like. I don't care. As long as the end product's good, you can go wherever you want. Luke Thomas floats all over the pitch at the moment when he's not getting involved. That's fine because at the moment he's so critical to the way we play. If he finds himself on the right wing, what you want, Luke.
Can we have a very quick, Laurie? Can you? I think we've glossed over Luke Thomas a little bit, and I think he's been exceptional in recent weeks. Fair?
Yeah, I love him to pieces. And actually, I don't completely agree with Paul on the Connor Chaplin thing because there were lots of moments during the Peterborough game where Thomas, Bayliss, and Chaplin actually linked up really well, and often, yes, the final ball wasn't great or Chaplin did something to cock it up eventually, but I think the link up between those three on the whole is really promising and that will bear fruit over the course of the season. I admit that there was one moment where Chaplin he had an opportunity to play in a final pass to someone, I think it was to Bayliss, and just overhit it so criminally in the second half that it was almost like it was almost funny. But no, Luke Thomas, yeah, he's brilliant. I mean, scares the crap out of people. He's almost, I know there's always the Ryan Kent comparisons, but I think he's actually offering a lot more than Ryan Kent did. Yeah. He's a much more intelligent player than Ryan Kent was when he came to play.
Intelligent? I think hard working and absolutely dynamic as fuck, but I think he's very single-minded. I think that might come. That's just raw youth, isn't it? I think, but I think there's some decisions that he needs to work on. How do you work on a decision? I don't know. That's just
but I agree. I sort of agree with both of you. I sometimes wonder, and this is massive conjecture, obviously, whether actually it's not he does what he does because he is making the wrong decisions. I sometimes feel like he's making the decision that I'm going to score this because it's important for me to get into the Derby team. Or,
that's his only decision, though, isn't it? That always is. I'm going to score this. I think that's 90% of the time. It's him. He will find a way to create it for himself or try to create it for himself.
But I'm always just so delighted when an attacking player has the desire to shoot. I just think I don't know why players don't just shoot more often. And I read something really compelling recently about the value of surprise in terms of having a meaningful outcome on success for shooting chances. I can't remember who it was that was talking about it, but it was someone who went into quite good detail about it, and it was saying your absolute best bet, even if it isn't the best position that you can take up, is to get the shot away while there's an element of surprise in it, because if you get it on target, the chances are that there isn't enough time, depending on where you are, to react quick enough to it. And also, I just like the fact that he just goes for it, and I think, well, fair play.
Well, I find
and also the near post shot. That's the one where it's always, you've got to shoot past goal. You got to shoot past goal. Maybe sometimes shoot near post. It can go in as well. Yeah.
What I find really interesting though is everyone makes the Ryan Kent comparison because it makes him look quite good. If you make the Jacob Murphy comparison, it makes him look quite bad because Jacob Murphy scored lots of goals and got lots of assists.
I haven't heard one person make that comparison yet.
Yeah, because it doesn't make Luke Thomas look particularly good. In stats-wise, they play in exactly the same role. They're playing on the wing, but Jacob Murphy scored lots of goals and made lots of goals. The problem with Luke Thomas is he doesn't have an end product, and that is an issue. Whether or not it'll come, I don't know. I mean, I hope it does. I think he works extremely hard, but I don't. If you're going to make comparisons, the other comparison to make is Jacob Murphy, and he's not as good as Jacob Murphy was.
But everyone hated Jacob Murphy.
Yeah, but everyone hated. People hate the wrong people. Jacob Murphy, scored 12, 13 goals. He scored a hat trick. He set up loads of goals. Jacob Murphy was the player. If you put Jacob Murphy and Adam Armstrong in that team, we're in the top 6. And you can take out anyone's. You can either take out Thomas or Huula, and you can take Chaplin or JCH out. You put those two players in.
Where would we be if we had Pele up front?
Oh yeah, I understand that argument. It's a bit trite, but it's a case of those are the comparisons. Those are the players who we only had a couple of years ago in League One at the same sort of part of their career that Luke Thomas is at, that Jacob Murphy was at. And Jacob Murphy was far better for us in stats-wise and end product-wise than Luke Thomas is doing. And that's not to say Luke Thomas isn't playing well. He is playing really well. But I agree with Neil. I think his decision-making is quite poor. And
but that's the reason that people make that comparison with Ryan Kent instead of Jacob Murphy, because they're much more similar kinds of players, just in the most basic way in their stature, but also because Jacob Murphy was streets ahead of the entire division, whereas Ryan Kent and Luke Thomas patently aren't streets ahead of this division. They're kind of struggling to work out how good a player they're going to be, whereas Jacob Murphy, you're like, there's no way this guy's going to piss around in this division for much longer, whereas you could see Luke Thomas playing in this league for another year and a half.
But Murphy also had an eye for an assist, so he was a greedy guy as well, and he would shoot from all angles. But at the same point, he got those assists because he was in that position, and he was looking for the best option for the team a lot of the time. Whereas I think at the moment you've got Thomas, who is this raw young player he knows he's really good for this level, I think, and his pace is just frightening, and it's such a threat. And it's very similar to Ryan Kent, where I think in themselves they know they're better than the people they're coming up against, and it's just that final element. And I don't know how you fix that. Maybe the touch just comes eventually, and you get a feel or knack for putting the ball into the back of the net. I don't know, but in the same way that I argued for Ryan Kent, I will argue for Luke Thomas all day long, because having him in the team is just infinitely better than not having him anywhere near the team, regardless of bad decision. It annoys me that he makes bad decisions, but I'll take him being the player he is over not having him in the team at all.
I think we can all agree that he is playing very, very well. And I think when, Paul, you did your thing on Twitter of who's been the best player so far this season, it was largely dominated by him and Burge, and I think for very good reason. I think, Paul, final recollections on Fleetwood, and then we'll move on.
It was cold. They play an annoying tune when they score.
I quite liked that, I must admit. I mean, it was very annoying because of how depressing it was. Yeah, and how many times you heard it. But I did quite like. Was it Captain Pugwash?
Yeah, and also I know this
quite jaunty.
He's not the sort of player you want anywhere near your club. But the difference between Ched Evans and our strikers was. I mean, he is just. And it's not. It's his touch, but it's not just the fact he's got touch. It's the fact that it's how he moved the ball. It was how he moved. It was that. That's the difference. That's the level where you can tell that he's better than he's only here because of what's gone on outside. It was like
when we had Malon King.
Yeah,
you looked at it. You just went, you wouldn't be here if you weren't a dickhead.
No, and I think that's where my question marks over our strikers are, because it's not often you see a player so starkly better than the same players who are playing in the same position. And as I said, I like Johnson Clark-Harris this season. My question with him is I think he's not particularly a very good footballer. I don't think he's a particularly bright footballer. And I think that's one of our issues. Is I don't think particularly an attacking unit with much of a brain, which is why I can see why you're trying to bring Andrew a little bit back into it. But you watch someone like Ched Evans, and you watch the way he moves the ball, the way he sort of shields the ball, the way he uses his body, and all that sort of jazz. And you're looking at that going, yeah, that's where we're lacking at the moment. We're lacking that little bit extra up front. My only other point is,
throughout then, Ched Evans.
He's just a quality footballer at this level. He just stands out as being better than the players around him, and in that way that sometimes players just do, don't they? You watch him, and as I said, it's not like his touch is so much better than everyone else's. It's he does a touch and then he just moves it into a position where Dominic Heim just couldn't get the ball off him. It's that sort of it's how they use the ball, where they present the ball, where it all goes, and then you watch JCH, and it's not the same sort of thing where he gets the ball under control. You're never really sure if JCH is really. He doesn't have a plan, does he? He isn't like, I'll get this under control, then I'll run this way. And you watch Ched Evans, it's like, well, my job is to get the ball under control and bring my teammates in. And if I do this, then this teammate's in a better position. And it's that sort of thing. And I said that it didn't help Connor Chaplin on that day, because you were watching both of them get the ball in similar conditions and similar pressure. And Ched Evans held the ball up and brought his teammates in. And Connor Chaplin got the ball taken off him by a Fleetwood player sort of 80% of the time. And you were like, we can't set up an attack at the moment because neither of our strikers can hold the ball. They can't. And the way we move forward as well, the way we attack teams, we did it against Fleetwood well. It's like Hawula's got the ball and JCH runs in the wrong direction, and it ends up with Hawula going down the cul-de-sac because the strikers around him haven't created space for him. They've basically just moved away from him, and there's no thought at the moment in how we attack, how we move as a unit. And you look at the defence. The defence is a solid unit. They didn't have particularly good games against Fleetwood, but they're a solid unit, and you can see why we don't concede that many. But our attack isn't a unit in the same way at all, and that's what's got to be solved in the next couple of weeks.
There you go. That's Peterborough and Fleetwood. Let's talk to Dom about Walsall, and then we'll do a little few questions and a little bit of the feature that hasn't died yet, Snog Marry McQuoid. Here's Dom. Hi Dom, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Walsall again. How much has changed since you previewed them last week?
Well, they haven't won, but there's sort of a greater sense of clarity in what Dean Keats is trying to do there. The last time we met them, Keats was going through a period where he's sort of running through a few different formations, trying to figure out who his best players were, how to fit them into the best team he can. And since playing us, really, he settled on a 4-4-2. There's a few sort of developing partnerships. We've got George Dobson in midfield, who is a really good passer ball, sort of spraying it about. And you've got Liam Kinsella, who's plays more sort of energetic box-to-box role and sort of providing them with something they were missing before, sort of level Tyrishness in the centre of the park. And they've got Andy Cook in good form up front, who played well a couple of times. They played Sunderland over the past couple of weeks. And then they've got the pace of Josh Gordon playing alongside Andy Cook, and just some quick players out wide. Josh Ginley, who is in good form, and then on other flanks, sort of flipping between Zeddy Ismail and Kieran Morris, who sort of competing for a place there.
So how much more difficult do you think it will be than the cup game that we played recently?
I think possibly more from our perspective is whether we've got the same confidence that we had before. Walsall, obviously, they feel more in a settled state, and with this winners run for us, it's starting to feel like a few things are going to be up in the air. Is Robins going to name the same team? Is he going to make changes? What impact's that going to have? So I think for us to be able to hit the ground running is going to be the real challenge here. I think the one thing with Walsall is you're always going to be in the game against them. It wasn't just us where they threw away a 2-goal lead. They had the same against Sunderland, and it is still quite an inexperienced side, certainly at League One level, and their confidence can be a little bit brittle. They're still leaking goals, so I think for us it's just about maintaining that belief and rediscovering some confidence, especially in front of goal.
Thinking about us a little bit more, given that you've talked about Walsall fairly recently, what would you do on Saturday, team-wise?
So one of the things I've been thinking about is whether this might be a game specifically to bring Jordan Shipley in on the wing, mainly because Walsall are so good down the flanks. They've got two good wingers generally, plus they've got attacking fullbacks who are going to get forward and get crosses in. I mean, the player who scored the winner against us was a right back making a run into the box. So bringing Shipley into the side might help provide us a little bit more cover. Elsewhere, I'm not sure there's too much capacity for change. Obviously, with Jody Jones getting another injury, it's sort of taken an option away from Robbins. And it's a question of, well, do we stick with Chaplin? Do we trust him to play himself into form, or do we change it? And then you're kind of looking at the options. It's like moving Harula into the middle, who he's scored a few goals this season, but I'm not absolutely convinced by, especially, he seems to be quite erratic in terms of his finishing, in terms of his general play, really. So you're never sure what you can get from him.
He's gone 180 minutes without touching the ball, from what I can tell.
Yeah, he's someone who can definitely blow hot or cold. I think one of the things I've written about him recently is like, if you drop him, you're always looking that you've dropped something potentially good happening from him. He's just someone who is kind of just sort of unpredictable, but not in like any exciting way, but just occasionally he'll just do something that will like open something up. And then, I mean, it's either Harula or you're talking about bringing in Andrew into the side. That hasn't quite worked for him this season.
No Bakayoko?
I mean, it still feels that you just throw him in against Walsall because
he used to play against Walsall, and everyone's obsessed with this false idea that people score against their old clubs all the time. Yeah,
it's essentially, and I suppose the difficulty for him is that I think Robbins doesn't see him as a strike partner for Clark Harris, and I don't think he's very well suited to playing as sort of a target manish type of striker. He's not someone who can whenever I've seen him play up front, certainly in that Cheltenham Czechoslovakia game, just really seems to struggle to get himself into the game when he's sort of ploughing that furrow on his own up top. So he is kind of trying to figure out ways to get him the kind of service he had at Charlton, where all he had to do was put the ball into the net, essentially. Don't want him doing too much outside his own area, because he doesn't appear to be his particular strong suit. I suppose the other question is this the game you make tweaks to the midfield? Do you drop Doyle? Do you bring in an extra midfielder to help him out? I'm not really sure what to do there.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is something that got discussed on the sort of main pod, but Doyle and the way that he's been targeted in recent weeks is a real concern, isn't it? But I think we've probably already discussed that elsewhere. No predictions then. Any final thoughts on Walsall?
That's about it. We've played them so recently, it sort of feels like treading over old ground, really.
Very much so. Thank you very much, Dom.
All right, thank you. Too.
Thanks, Dom. Okay, questions and Stog, Murray, McCoy. We've got a few here. Let's go for a very quick one. Juan Serrat, Jairo Martinez, and Israel Zuniga. Neil, you start us off.
Who? Say it again. Juan Serrat, Israel Zuniga, and Jairo Martinez.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. I'm trying to remember what they look like, because that is obviously an important feature in this game. Oh, okay. I would marry Zuniga, because apparently didn't he become a dentist? And that'd be handy to have on tap. Juan Zara, I'd probably snog, and I'd avoid Martinez for no other reason other than because he's the only one left.
Process of elimination, yeah. Paul?
I'd definitely have snogged Juan Serran when he scored that goal against Notts Forest.
Yeah.
I'd marry Zuniga. And didn't he score against Rotherham and then run into the crowd?
I think you might be right.
So I'd avoid him, because obviously he's naughty.
Naughty.
Laurie?
I'm going to be a sports one, so I have so little opinion on any of those players that I'm not going to give any of them a name, because who are they?
Wow. We played Notts Forest many years ago, yeah. And Notts Forest battered us for like 90 minutes, and they were 1-0 up. And then in the 91st minute, Juan Serrat scored, and he picked up his T-shirt which says "Jesus loved you." And me and Jimmer were like, "Not as much as we love you" at this moment in time, because I think we were in about the third row, and it went absolutely. What's it called? Is it scenes these days, or limbs were everywhere, or whatever? It went fucking mental. It was brilliant, because we'd been literally destroyed and only 1-0 behind. So his equalising goal is up there with one of the greatest equalising goals I've ever seen.
That sounds
Paul,
good.
don't use millennial vernacular. It's like your granddad wearing a cap backwards. Let's go for this one from Dave Clare. Oh, who's that? That was from Sky Blue Hub, that last one. This one's from Dave Clare. The three horsemen of the Cov-pocalypse. Steve Evans, Kevin Nolan, Russell Slade. Neil, you
That's more like it.
You got to avoid Evans.
On the subject of Evans, do you know what I realised while we were podcasting? His full name, if you mispronounce his surname a little bit, is Stephen Evans.
Oh.
Which I think that's all I'm going to refer to him from as now on. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
So avoid him. We marry Nolan. I think just because I could put that photo of him and Bayless by the side of the bed, just to really wind him up for the rest of time. And then who was the other one?
Slade, Evans, Nolan.
So does that leave me snogging Russell Slade?
I think you've got to, yeah.
Oh, I've not thought this one through at all, have I? Okay, there we go. But no, that's the rules.
I'd marry Slade just so I could divorce him.
Yeah.
Basically, I would snog Steve Evans, because
as a sort of taste your own medicine to the clubs that he's done that to over the years.
I would snog Steve Evans because obviously we're going out for a nice meal beforehand, and you know, and
Think of all the food in his chops.
yeah, and I'm going to avoid Kevin Nolan because you know he's got Big Sam. He doesn't need me.
Laurie?
Yeah, I would. I only realised that. Why didn't Bayliss do? Someone saw on Twitter the other day. Why didn't Bayliss do the chicken celebration in front of Nolan? That would have been so amazing. But yeah, to answer the question, who would I snog? Nolan because he's the youngest. Marry Slade because we could maybe talk about Cov a bit, and he at least knows some of the players. That might be interesting. And then that leaves avoiding Steve Evans, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like the priority, wouldn't it? But apparently not. Apparently one of Paul or Neil was desperate to get food kisses off him. Let's go for some more idle speculation then. Question from... Oh, wait, hang on a second. There's a better one here. Where is it? Question from somebody says, and this is, I know I'd go straight for you, Neil. Given the current squad, which former City player that is still playing would you like to have back until the end of this season? But hard mode, you're told that you can't pick Maddison, Neil. That's from Lee Bradbury.
What? Oh, totally ruined it. So who's still playing? Gunny. I like Aaron Gunnarsson. I was always a big fan of him. Is that allowed?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. I mean,
I think him in the middle as a bit of a maniac alongside Bayliss, that could work.
There's a solid contingent of ex-players, of ex-Cov players in the Premier League this season. Paul, Laurie?
I would have Leon Clark in a heartbeat.
Not. Yeah. Okay, that counts. Paul?
Yeah, Leon Clark, Callum Wilson, Adam Armstrong, one of the strikers.
Yeah, it's hard to look past.
Even McGoldrick. Even I'd have Dominic Samuels back. I don't know whatever happened to him.
I think he's at Blackburn.
Yeah.
Blackburn.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other Cov Premier League players. Cyrus Christie's playing in the Premier League for Fulham. Jack Stevens is playing for Southampton.
Scott Dan's still at Palace. He's just been injured.
Yeah. It's
Lucas Djukovic is absolutely rattling. I know he's in the Championship.
Birmingham, yeah. Jordan Henderson.
Daniel Sturridge. Because we still love that. He played for us for a week once.
Yeah, that counts. So, question from Sky Blue Social. With the transfer window looming, who could be likely candidates to be sold in January? Paul?
It's got to be Bayliss and Burge are probably the two that if you were from a different league, you'd look at and think, yeah, they could probably play Championship level.
Anyone else that's not been mentioned?
No, I mean, sometimes people talk about Willis, don't they? But I think it's because he's cool more than anything else. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, isn't he? I wonder if he's listening to this, whether he's upset by that or not. You're like, well, pros, I'm pretty cool. Cons, they don't really rate me as a footballer.
Is it cool or handsome is he getting points for? Because do we know how cool he is?
He's got a cool name. He's got an interesting haircut.
He was pretty
He's
cool.
He
was pretty cool in those videos that they did pre-season where they were all sat by the pool, the two of them. Oh. He came across pretty cool there.
He's got a cool girlfriend as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
He's had a good season. I'm not, as you know, I'm not his biggest fan.
Yeah, he's been good, actually, hasn't he?
I think he's actually had a quite good season.
Yeah.
We haven't discussed Tom Davies at all on this pod. When's he coming back?
He came on as a sub against Fleetwood and looked like Tom Davis.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, yeah.
Wow. You say brilliant, I say Tom Davis.
But have you looked at
but Willis I don't think Willis is out for a bit. He got injured, didn't he? He went down during the Fleetwood game.
Perfect. We can start winning again.
Yeah, get yourself ready for another 5-game winning run then.
Well, on that, we haven't won a game since Sterling got injured.
Since Tom Davis got injured. Probably. Who cares about facts? Let's just speculate. We've won 103% of the games that Tom Davis has been involved in. Okay, I think that's enough bullshit for now.
The other question was regarding, there's a statement of why the fuck aren't we signing Burge, Willis and Grimmer on new contracts when they're out of contract in the summer?
I just think who says we're not?
Yeah, we're probably, could happen.
I mean, to some extent, if you're Birds, you might not want to sign, might you? You might just think, well, maybe I could get
for 9 years.
Yeah, I could. My stock's quite high. I could go on a free. Why would I sign a new contract? Maybe you get to January, you can start putting yourself out there and get contacted by other clubs, can't you? I would have thought.
Making kissy faces at championship clubs.
Come and get me, please.
Come and get me, please. Yeah, that's. Some club gets given a war chest in the summer. They've got somebody to.
You can have any keeper you want.
Yeah. I think that's enough pod this week, isn't it? Laurie, thank you. Remind us of where to find the blog.
thelonelyseason.club.
Paul, thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Neil, thank you.
Thank you.
Listener, thank you. Bye.